How would you describe Opera Philadelphia's equity and inclusion journey?
I would describe our equity inclusion journey definitely in its early stages.
I would describe Opera Philadelphia's E&I journey so far as kind of like a toddler who's just learning how to walk.
If I use the word intentional to describe how we've been in the past year, I would probably use the word unintentional as one of the words that could describe the very beginning of my time with the company.
Inconsistent and bumpy.
When looking at us historically, we had been very sporadic. We'd had like intense moments of engagement, and then we would leave that a community or a community partner, we would let go of that relationship until it became evident that we might have some need for that space again in partnership with them. So it became really kind of a sporadic, unintentional, as Stephen said, engagement. And I think that's what we're trying to change.
I would characterize the journey as very early on at this point, because there has been a lot of analysis and not as much operational activity in terms of changing policy, setting goals as a company.
And I would say that from a guest services perspective and being sort of the most front-facing members of the organization, that a lot of the efforts for equity and inclusion, particularly when it came to access to the art form, it was very incremental changes, promotions, several opportunities here and there, partnerships with communities. This past year has really put the organization's feet to the fire in terms of how to actually act very intentionally and confront the biases that we as an organization have as part of sort of a problematic industry in general.
I would say over the course of the last year, there has sort of been a lot of focus on facilitating these sessions, in terms of being able to get the entire company on the same page. There has been a lot of work delving into what does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean. And I think that it is sort of a continuous journey as a whole, but there is a really good foundation there in place. I would say in the past, I don't know that the focus was as specific on this sort of work, but at least within the last year, with the course of the pandemic, everything that's been sort of taking place in the country, there has been a lot of work towards that in general.
The work that's been undertaken since then has it struck me as being encouraging in terms of the full staff and what I hear in terms of their absolute earnest efforts to approach this work with humility and also with their full selves.
We've been putting considerable time and effort and attention into it over the past year and a half, but definitely still operating with the humility that we're very early along in this journey. And the fact that it's been something that kind of organically bubbled up from the staff and our equity inclusion committee has operated understanding that we don't know a lot. And we're learning and growing and relying on a spirit of humility and reaching out to other voices of expertise and guidance.
And now I think by us putting, having this position and including it with HR, I think is a big sign of the importance of this to the company.
To learn more about Opera Philadelphia and to apply for their Vice President of HR and Inclusion role, please visit workshouldn'tsuck.co/op-vp-HRI. Special thanks to Derren Mangum, Director of Institutional Giving, Catherine Perez, Development Services Coordinator, Stephen Humes, Manager of Audience Development, Michael Eberhard, Artistic Administrator. Veronica Chapman-Smith, Vice President of Community Initiatives. Eva James Toia, Director of Major Gifts. Hannah Moloshok, Guest Services Associate. And Tyson, Lead Teaching Artist.